one up here, and then I'll be right with you. My desk is just not big enough sometimes. Okay. How you doing? I'm Dr. Paul. Welcome. Every morning here at 7 a.m. I like to join in and join you, and we get to talk about the healthy mind. Today is we're still going over the emotional mind, and this is the last segment of the piece. So let's get YouTube up here going. Today is we're still going over the emotional mind. Okay, so audio, all that problem. You know, we use technology to hopefully do a couple of things, and if it's doing one thing for me is to share not just information, but share my love and my passion about what we could do better as people and as a humanity. Again, if you have any questions that you want to do, just pop on and put it in the comment section right below whatever you're watching. Remember, you can watch it on Instagram, you can watch it on YouTube Live, you can watch it on Twitter Live, Periscope, and you can watch it on Facebook Live. And if you miss any shows, you can always go back to Dr. Paul Dyer Grandmaster and on my YouTube channel, and you can rewatch all the shows again and again and again. Of course, on Facebook, you can watch the live feed. I know sometimes someone had asked me, says, Dr. Paul, why do you do it so early in the morning? Well, you know what? For me, this is not early. For you, it could be early, depending on the time and area, the country, and the world you live in, because it does get rewatched. I think you should have an opportunity to get up, do your morning chores, prayers, and meditation. So let's dive right in. So we're talking about the healthy mind. And the healthy mind, remember, it's about understanding the mind. And we'll go into this. And I had some great questions yesterday via text and email that I'll answer today. So the emotional mind. So yesterday we went over some of the things we were going to be talking about today, referring to the limbic system and talking about the different areas of the mind, the frontal lobe and the hippocampus and the hypothalamus and the amygdala, and we talked about its functions and the information in the 5 E's. Remember, go back there. So we're going to dive right into the next phase, and that means we're going in deeper. So as we know, that everything we have coming in is information, right? This is all the outside source, okay? No matter how you look at it, this is an outside source. So what I'm going to do is draw my guy, draw my little guy, right? And that's his big brain. So the difference between the mind and the brain, and this is one of those questions I had gotten yesterday. The mind is the growth and development. The brain is the process and engineer. It's the engine of your vessel. Remember, this is a vessel we live in. This is, yes, it's a body, but it's a vessel. And the brain is one of those engines of your vessel. So this is what it does: the processing, it does the producing, it does the receiving, it does the transmitting. That's all it does. But it also, if you let it take control of you, it starts running you. So the emotional mind, this is all outside information, and all outside information comes from all outside sources. I don't have to write that down. All outside source, all of it: the ground, the sky, the air, everything. Okay, so in our outside source, we have different centers, right? we have different centers of what we receive the outside force in. So one of those things that we have is that we have our brain, and we know what we talked about our brain and how it does the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, the amygdala, and its functions, right? And all the informations. And we also have the five senses. One of those five senses, remember, those are the five E's of the senses: the taste, the smell. Those are what you call our receptors. We bring that information in because of those receptors. So now let's go down. And then one other thing that we're going to touch on, because now we're going in, we got to talk about hormones, right? We got to talk about hormones. We got to talk about the vagus nerve, right? So if we talk about the hormones in the vagus nerve, hormones are messengers, okay? So the hormones are messengers, and then we got to talk, and then of course the spine here. So I'll do this right here, the spine, spinal cord. Now the spinal cord, if you remember from even on the wise mind, it helps with breathing, right? It regulates heartbeat and breathing. Now with these centers, the different centers, right? The heart picks up vibration. The vagus nerve starts up in here. It starts way back in here, and it travels all the way down here into the stomach. A lot of people will call, you have what you call a second brain. Most people don't know that. You have a second brain. And in that second brain is most of the time people have feelings and, good morning, honey, and my wife saw. Most people who have the second brain, that's where you have these feelings, these gut feelings, like, oh, I have a gut feeling about that. Well, that's the vagus nerve, right? And the vagus nerve also stimulates, right? Because it stimulates into the spinal cord, right? The spinal cord then sends signals to other parts of our organs. This is where we carry a lot of emotional information. I know emotions is probably the most difficult avenue of the brain to deal with. I do. We get into, I say, well, do your exercises, do your prayers, do your meditation. Because when he talks about cortisol, and cortisol goes back into the brain and what it blocks off, and I'm not going to go over that, but if you have increased cortisol, if you have increased anything in the body, remember the body is about, where's my red? The body is about balance. The body's about balance. The brain can only produce the information coming down, sending signals from the hormones down to the vagus nerve, capturing what our brain is going to process. Our brain is a processor. Now, when we talk about the emotional mind, remember all the emotional mind, or the healthy mind, the emotional mind, the wise mind, the rational mind. But the healthy mind is understanding the balance of what's going on and what's being triggered. The vagus nerve coming down and triggering the second part of the stomach inside here, sending signals out, the heart vibration. Remember the heart, there's a heart science to this. The heart extends out to 16 feet of all vibrational circular around you. So that's receiving, those are those receptors. Our hands, way we touch, that's why we hug. That's when we touch our feet down here. Those are what we touch on the ground. Also, if we are walking unbalanced, and this is where the vagus nerve is also triggers what movement, right, in the cranial. If you are unbalanced, structurally unbalanced, your vagus nerve is going to pick up instability. What happens if you're in something and you're unstable? You are triggering a different set of hormones of action, meaning like we have to react to unstableness. If our body feels unstable, then our brain feels unstable, then the emotional mind feels unstable. Do you see how that works? Even if our feet is unstable, triggering the nerve, sending out hormones, going into the brain, triggering an emotional reaction of instability and no balance. That happens. That's why when we're practicing our movement, we're working on breath and balance because we got our spinal cord, right? Regulating our breathing, working on our muscular balance so then we can balance out the physical body. Now, with information, all information's coming in. We know that we're being bombarded by information coming to us. And this is part of this information coming to us. Some information is trying to influence you. Some information is trying to drive you. Some information is actually a genetic code that you have not replaced, that it keeps happening over and over and over and over again. The things we are trying to do here, the things I am trying to do here. I got another question here at this. Oh, hold on for a second. I got a question here on Facebook. Remember, you can always put in a question on Facebook or on YouTube. Also, let me check here. Yeah. So, the vagus nerve is the longest and the most complex cranial nerve. It runs through the face, thorax, to the stomach. Excellent. That's so true. It is a nerve that causes to speak butterflies in your stomach. The good doctors. So when we're talking about the vagus nerve, thank you. So when we're talking about the vagus nerve and you're unbalanced and your body's unbalanced, then it sends all these hormones of your unbalancedness, right? So then once you start triggering on these hormones and your spinal cord, remember it goes back to the breathing. I know I'm recapping because I want to read this. Then you got your organs are feeling it, and now it's storing information. Now in that stored information of organs, right? Now we have what you call your outside information. You're going to call I'll just say speech, cognition. Remember, we got to stay understanding what cognition is. Cognition means your process to speech and words coming in, right? So now your organs are reacting. There's a difference. It's not acting, because organs don't act on its own. It is reacting to the messengers of the hormones. And if it's reacting to the messengers of hormones, if you talk about your emotional mind or your brain, which is nothing but a producer and processor, what is it telling the organs to be, or how to react, and what chemicals to push out? And if it's pushing out what you call high producing cortisols or high producing enzymes, right, that affects your endocrine system, that affects your nervous system, so it starts to affect who you are internally, then again you're off balance. And that all comes from body structure balance. We're not even talking about now how do I respond to when people are saying we're in an apocalyptic area. We need to change our perceptions. We can want to change all we want. If we don't understand how our body is being affected between the hormones, the vagus nerve, the spinal cord, the vibration of the heart picking up in 16 feet around us, all our receptors, our hands, our feet, our eyes, our smell. What we smell triggers. All of our senses is something that triggers our body, right? But if you're not functioning in a balanced state, then your triggers are just doing all what they want. Some of the terms we had to call this I've been practicing Buddhist studies for a long time, and it's the monkey mind or the balance of the body. And there's different ways of meditation, and I think some of the ways of meditation gets confused about clearing the mind, and it's just not true. There's so many types of meditation. I can think of one of them off the top of my head is Tonglen meditation. Is the study of compassion. Is to hold on. So meditation, if you look at it this way, it is pain that we have is the budded flower. That's pain. So we hold on to that flower, but we follow down to the growth and the root of where the flower is being rooted in. Okay, so let me just take this off a little bit here. So you can go back and watch that. So when it comes to, because someone had asked me that about meditation and pain and the emotional mind. And I think all these are emotions, feelings, actions, trauma. All those is in the flower, right? By the time we start to smell and recognize this flower of pain, right? Because that's what this is. Pain. It could be an injury. It could be anything that has happened to you. Remember, this is to you, not in you. But once you recognize this pain, down here in the stem, it may have, you can have any flower, you can have any tree, depending on your pain level. You got to follow each of these buds has information for you, history. It has a history. When you are developing a strong emotional or balanced emotional mind, we're talking about understanding where these buds come from history, and how it flows into our body. Yeah. Once you recognize the flow up into our body, then we can then heal this flower. And I'm not talking about picking it and plucking it. I'm talking about healing. That's why when I work with patients or people who have different addiction issues, I talk about healing. I don't talk about recovery. I don't talk about we can talk about recovery, but most of the thing, it's about healing. Healing means that when my flower grows, this pain, this trauma, this existing issue is not there. And then it's my flower I've developed. It's my flower I communicated in how I grow. So now, after I grow this flower, now I can give compassion. I can give love. I can give hope. Blah, blah, blah. I can start to, and most of you people can, some of you say you can't read that. Well, it's compassion, love, hope, and then to have faith. Thank you, welcome. And if you have any questions, I got to make sure I keep checking my boards because I got Instagram, Twitter, and I get so really wrapped up into what I'm doing. So if you have any questions or comments, just put them down here and I will read them. Welcome, welcome. Everyone, welcome on Facebook. And so when we're talking about now the balance of the body, the balance of our breath, the balance of our existence, the balance of how the different information is coming into our body, which is affects our hormones, which is affecting the vagus nerve, which is affecting the cranial cervix or the spinal cord, our sensory perceptions. All this is done internally. So that's why we're talking about the internal. Today is talking about the internal, right? Yesterday we talked about the different formations of the mind, of the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, and the amygdala. You can go back there and watch that. Again, I don't like to take up too much of your time, but we're going to get more into meditation of how to work on this, because I understand that sometimes when people are in pain, and they're trying to clear this, stop clearing, heal this, regulate your understanding of what it is that's inside of you and where it comes from, how it is traveling through your body. You can, so I get how you can do it, but we'll get into more of the how on Friday. Right now I want to show you the way it goes, right? Understanding what most people never heard of the vagus nerve or the second stomach. Most people don't understand how information is just coming into your brain, and then you have your receptors. You have all your 5 senses, and then you have your different environment, which is, remember, your 5 E's: environment, expectations, energy, experience, and education. Remember, I hope you take this as more as information, and then you turn it into your practice. Practice, um, practice, training, and faith. There's a development there that will produce a better you always. Um, Again, I'm Dr. Paul. You can always reach me at drpaulholisticscience.com. You can always watch me, contact me throughout the week. Yes, I do hold private. Yes, I do hold private sessions via internet or webinars and stuff like that, because so many people have specific questions for themselves of where they're at, because everyone is in a different place. But remember, no matter where you at, we are all signaling up to the major construct of spirituality. We're all signaling up, okay? So if your signaling is dull, we're not just separate signals, we're all a unified signal to the universe. So as we work on ourselves, as we heal ourselves, as we become better in ourselves, the whole universe, that's why if everyone's meditating at one time, or everyone's praying at one time, things can shift. Things can shift in your household, things can shift, but let's shift them inside yourself. Let's understand the history of our flower that we're growing. Let's understand what we do with our emotional mind, and that's develop a balance, understanding the structure. And then once we do that, we can have a healthy mind. Again, thank you so much. God bless, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 7 a.m.